In the previous tutorial videos, we developed two acceptance tests. Let's just review how they look like, and let's see how in this tutorial we'll show you how you can automate the acceptance tests for your projects. Okay, so now if you look at the first one, so we say create a new accounts, another new accounts, and then try to do deposit. And the second acceptance test is we got new and also another new for duplicate. So in this case, we do expect some error message to be reported to the console by the command class. Okay, so now you can see, let me just show you again how we can run it. So we simply just launch the starter project using -B, and then this is kind of our expected outcome. However, and let's just see another one. Okay, and then we'll see AT02 over here. So this is the second one. So this is the expected output for the first one, the expected test result by running the first acceptance test. That's the first expected one. And this is the second expected output for the second acceptance test. But I can see that now, question for you. If let's say I made a change to our model cluster, let's say I made some changes maybe to the account class, or I made some changes to the command classes, maybe about the error message reporting. How do I know I haven't really introduced something that's wrong? The only way to do it is by following the principle for regression testing, which means every time if you introduce anything different to your model or to your code, what you gotta do is you gotta rerun all your acceptance tests that's in your repository. In this case, that means we have to manually run this AT01 again and try to make sure by our eyes if this expected output is the same as before. Also, we gotta rerun this AT02 manually and try to check by our eyes if the actual output is the same as what we expected, right? So this is not very convenient for us. So every time if you introduce any changes, which is very constantly the case, and you have to manually compare the outputs and run and check by your eyes. That's not very convenient. So what we should do is we should somehow automate this process as much as we can. Let me show you one way to do it, and then there might be some further development you can do on your own. Okay. So what I would do is I will show you something here. Okay, let's say currently we have already done running these two, and then we are very happy with the output. So let's say that should be the expected output for any future developments, should there be any changes introduced. So what I can do is this. First of all, I can say AT01. I can say redirect the output to the same folder, let's say. So currently we are in this folder under instructor. Okay, AT01, AT02. We can follow the following naming convention. We can say AT01 dot expected dot txt. Okay, what you will do is it's going to create this expected file. So that means any future changes should still give you the same expected output. Okay. Similarly, we're also going to do AT02 over here and AT02, and that would be the expected output for AT02. Basically, you just keep adding the as many acceptance tests as you like, and also for each one of them, you should really have the corresponding expected output as well. So this whole thing is a repository for you to run the regression testing as you introduce changes to your software projects. Okay, so now how do we run the process? Okay, I'll give you some idea. Okay, so what we can do is, let's say we introduce some changes over here. Let's say over here, for example, let's say I go to my model classes over here. Let's go to the bank class. Okay, and now what I can do is, let's say for some reason I modify my precondition for the new by accident. Okay, so I go to new feature over here. Let's say for some reason I got rid of this. Okay, and then I'll simply say compile. Okay, and then I simply, so basically now the precondition means, the precondition is there should be at least one ID that is equal to exactly that ID, right? So now we might have some trouble over here. Okay, so now what we can do is if you simply compile, and then what we can do is we can simply just do the following. Let's try to rerun the test over here. So now we should run it. So now this is after the change has been introduced. So we can redirect this into AT01. That's another file, the actual output. So this is the actual output from the modified software. We don't know yet if that's good or bad. Okay, actual.txt. Okay, so now this is actually not a very good example because we actually got exception thrown from that. So now immediately you can tell apparently this is not a good change to make because you shouldn't see any contract violation like this. Let me have a better change for you. Okay, how about that? Let me just undo the change I just did. Okay, and recompile. Okay, what I would like to do is this. Can I just maybe say rather than deposit amount, I would say amount plus 1. Okay, just as illustration. Okay. Of course, the change I made from just previously is still valid. It is simply saying if you actually got any contract violation from your actual outputs, that's definitely bad. So you definitely should really fix it. Okay. So now I just got a second change for you. So what I will do is, let me just make sure I compile that projects, and then I'll go back here. If I go to AT01 and AT01.actual.txt, okay, I do have some actual file, and then I'll do the same for O2. Okay, so now if you go back here, you can see, okay, let's not lose the big picture. AT01 and AT02, these are the two acceptance tests, only a sequence of user-initiated events. AT01 the expected, AT02 the expected. So these are the expected outputs from any of the modified version of your software. And then AT01 the actual, AT02 the actual. So these are the actual outputs from the latest change. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to make sure these two match, and also these two match. If any one of these does not match, that means your latest change has introduced something that's inconsistent with your expectation previously. That means there's something wrong you gotta fix. Okay. So that's how we run the regression testing. Let me illustrate to you. Over here, let's say we want to, for example, we can say diff, which is always available. We can say AT01.actual.txt and AT01.expected.txt. If I do that, you can see they don't actually agree. Okay, hopefully you can see, right? Because we actually did, the error we introduced was to deposit plus 1. So that means over here in the actual one, you actually deposit more than what's requested. And this is what's requested, right? So this is expected and this is actual. So they don't actually agree. So now as soon as you see there's something not agreed between the expected and actual, there's something wrong. What about the second one? The second one might be okay. But as long as there's at least one that does not agree, you have to fix it before you move on with your changes. The second one is okay. So what I should do now is, let me just say we found the error by using maybe execution parameter setup. If you don't know about this, check the previous video. Let me change this and compile. Okay, let me follow the same process again. So after the new change, so what I would do is I should first of all generate the actual outputs. Okay, so AT01, by running that, I'm gonna generate AT01 the actual. And then for AT02, I'm also going to generate actual file, and let's now compare. So now I can say diff. For the first one, okay, they actually agree. And for the second one, they also agree. Okay, that's kind of the regression testing you're going to do. You might still argue that this is still kind of manual because the process of generating the actual file and the process of comparing the actual and the expected, it still seems to be manual. So this is the kind of exercise I would suggest you do as you learned from 2031. You know about how to write shell scripts to automate the command running. That's exactly how you can practice about your 2031. So we may make some script for you available for you to do the regression testing later. But I would suggest after you watch this video, try to write some simple shell script on your own. That's also good practice for you for regression testing.